Hello everyone, back again with another video, and it is a vinyl tag. I think it's my third vinyl tag of the year so far, and this one is the album art vinyl tag for Jack at the Vinyl Voyage over there in Scotland. So we got 12 prompts. Stay tuned and I'll let you know what those prompts are. Hello everyone, Daryl the Northern Vinyl Guy, and yes, it is another vinyl tag video. I have fun doing these vinyl tags and threads. I've mentioned this before. So I'll be doing some of these over the coming weeks because they're really neat, and there's some cool ones in the VC, whether it's a tag or a thread, that kind of thing. And so Jack has come up with the album art one, and it's super cool. I never really thought about album art too much prior to this, but there's some really neat questions in here. He's got 12 of them for us. So if you haven't checked out this vinyl tag, I'm gonna leave a link to his original video down below. And like I said, there's 12 prompts and really neat stuff. So thank you, Jack, for doing this. And here we go. I'm gonna get to the prompts right now. So prompt number 1 is to show an album that has a really cool cover, or a band, I guess, just looking cool. I'll be looking over to my my left here just to revive some of the questions so I can remember, but album in which the band is just looking cool. So I'm going to show Huey Lewis and the News and their famed album Sports. I know that this album isn't for everyone, but it's the one that I remember the most. You know, it's got some tracks there, I believe, from Back to the Future and things like that. But there you've got Huey Lewis right there looking cool with his jacket over his shoulder, and the rest of the band just sitting there at the bar. And you've got the bartender and their bartenders in their nice cool vests and things like that, and they're just sitting there in the sports lounge looking cool. Obviously a little tacky cover, obviously staged and all that kind of stuff, you can tell, but yeah, no, the Huey Lewis and the News, the boys, they're just looking cool in that sports bar. And you know, I wouldn't mind a game of billiards after that, or where is it up here? Yeah, up there, watching a sports game on TV. I believe it is a football game. Yes, football player diving for the catch. That is American football. That is. All right, question number 2, prompt number 2. Show your weirdest, trippiest, or most controversial album cover. Well, this one isn't controversial. There's no controversy here, but it is from an American band formed in the 1970s. In Philadelphia, I do believe. You know, keyboardist, vocalist Rob Hyman was one of the first members of the band, and he later on went to form the Hooters in the 1980s. But this band here kind of is out of the psych band Wax from the early 1970s. This is from I believe this is from 1977, but a band called Baby Grand and their album Ancient Medicine. It's a really weird cover. I remember showing it, I believe, in the very first vinyl tag I did, I think back in 2024. Yeah, it's just a creature made out of different vegetables, turnips, celery, lettuce, you know, green onion. You can look at his beard. It's made out of the green onion there. But yeah, no, this is just I don't know, I would call it proggy. You know, they were kind of compared a little bit to Steely Dan and Ambrosia and bands like that. I see a little bit of that out of them. But this album here is known for their cover of the Left Bank's Walk Away Renee in kind of a rock proggy version. So if you haven't heard that track, Walk Away Renee by Baby Grand, do so. There you go. Ancient Medicine with a very strange cover. All right, number 3, show my sexiest album cover. Well, this is my newest album. I got it as a Christmas gift from my wife. And I mean, I think the life of a showgirl, Taylor Swift. I know not everybody's into Taylor Swift, but I mean, that is a pretty good looking Taylor there. And, you know, I might as well show the gatefold. I don't understand the spaghetti on the table, but Taylor is looking definitely not her youthful self here. She has moved on into other realms now that she's in her 30s. So yes, Taylor Swift and the life of a showgirl. I believe that just based on that title alone, that is kind of what she is going for. A sexy look in her newest album. All right, number 4, show an album cover that you dislike and explain why you dislike it. Well, this isn't like the worst cover in the world, but I've mentioned this on our Wednesday night streams with, you know, Rob and Joe and the guys on our Wednesday night show, you know, from the basement with Northern Revolutions. I'll leave a link down to Rob and Joe's channel down below. But yeah, I don't understand Christopher Cross and this album here. And I get it, it's that yacht rock look, and you know, he's supposed to be looking out the window of a ship or something along those lines, but I just don't get this cover. And this could go with another one of those questions that's going to be coming up dealing with animals with the flamingo, but I just don't get it. I understand that we're going for that yacht rocky sound and that kind of feel, but I think it's just a dumb album cover. I don't understand it. And I understand that Christopher Cross, you know, he wasn't the most handsome looking man and stuff like that, but come on. They could have put Christopher Cross on here in a different way. It's just not an album cover that makes sense to me per se. All right, and speaking of the animal question, so show an album that features a creature from the animal world. Well, like I said, I mean, I could have went with this to tail off. I could have went with the flamingo, but instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with a Canadian band from the 1970s. For the most part, they were a Christian rock band or a Christian band, but then in 1979, they kind of went away maybe from their Christian roots a bit. And it features the lead singer, Paul Jans, who I've talked about. He went solo in the 1980s, and then he became a theologist with King's College and stuff in Ontario. But it's a band called Deliverance, and this is their album, Tightrope. And you can see a whole pile of butterflies on there. I actually think this is kind of a quirky, weird cover as well. But I think that the swarm of butterflies on there is really neat. This album, I suppose, you could kind of compare it to maybe a little bit of, say, the early Bee Gees sound, things like that, maybe. And there was a top 40 in Canada song, just a one-hit wonder in Canada song called Leaving LA, I believe it was called. I just got to... Yeah, it's called Leaving LA. It's the closing track on side 1. And if you want to know what the band looks like, they kind of look like... they look like that. And right there, the guy with the mullet and the glasses in the background, that is Paul Jans, one of the main singers from this band. Like I said, he went solo. But check it out. Check it out. All right, number 6. Show an album cover with an interesting backstory. And what's the backstory? Well, this album here, I've talked about this before. So last March, March of 2025, I went to Spain. And I went into a record shop. And the guy that was working behind the computer guided me to all kinds of bands from Spain, whether they were from the 70s, 80s, based on my tastes. He let me hear some of the music through Spotify and all that, and he convinced me to buy quite a few records. And one of the coolest ones, I thought, was this band right here, a band called Triana, which formed in the early 1970s during Francisco Franco, the infamous World War II, 1930s Spanish dictator. And he would later pass away. He would die in 1975. So up until that point, most bands and people in Spain, I mean, there was, censorship and no freedom to speak aloud and all that under the dictatorship. And then when he passed away, a couple of years later, they made this album, and they created their own genre called flamenco rock. And this is kind of like psyche, prog, flamenco music. And this album here, it's like really spooky. I don't even want to call it Salvador Dali. I'm running a blank on the artist from the late centuries there, but he created all kinds of creepy, just disturbing, dark art, and it reminds me of that. But the music that is on this album deals with almost, I don't want to call it protesting, but definitely talks about subjects that would not have been appropriate during the times of Francisco Franco, no protesting and stuff like that. So really cool. I don't know if the art has anything to do with that, but it's almost like this artwork has kind of a protest towards the masses and what was going on in Spain at that particular time. That is my take on it. If anybody is from Spain or Europe that knows the story behind the artwork on that, please let me know. But in my perspective, that would be my thoughts on that. So Triana, Hijos del Agobio is the name of the album. All right, next prompt, number 7, show an album that has an interesting sleeve design, such as a pop-up or, some kind of cut, die-cast cut or anything like that. Well, I'm going to go with the Son of Dracula. I don't want to call it a soundtrack, but it features Harry Nilsson and Ringo Starr music. Yeah, I guess it is a soundtrack. So the Apple film Son of Dracula. And so if you look at it, you got Dracula kind of there in the background, but it opens up into this cool kind of, can't see the whole thing, but if you look at it, it's like the wing of Dracula, almost like a bat in a way, and it shows the entire stage setting. So I thought that was a pretty cool die-cast cut cover. I guess I should close it the way that it is supposed to be, but yes, the Son of Dracula soundtrack right there, featuring, like I said, Ringo Starr and Harry Nilsson. All right, number 8, show an album where the sleeve art was the primary reason you decided to take a chance on it. Well, this is another one of those Canadian proggy psych type bands. This is a more recent one. I think this is from 2023 or 2024. It's a Canadian band out of Toronto called Lamping. And I was looking for some deals and sales online, and this was selling. This is only, I think there's like 6 tracks. It's like, this is pretty much an EP. Only plays songs on one side. The other side is more etched. And so they're out of Toronto, and just some really quirky, psyche prog type music. So I thought it was a really cool cover, with the hippie van and the surfboard and all that kind of stuff, and then the band kind of on top of the hippie van, but it's not really the band. They're kind of, their faces aren't showing or anything like that, but I just thought it was neat in general. So Lamping, and I think it's just it's called Stars We Lost by Lamping out of Toronto. All right, we're getting close to the end here. Number 9, show your most battered album cover. Well, this one here, I gotta watch what I do. This thing is beat. That's not. Ring wear. This is Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band, The Distance. Super ring wear. It's playable, but even, I don't know if you can tell, but it's, I've got to clean this. It still plays, but I wouldn't be using this on any audiophile or good record players for sure. It's going to do some damage to your needles. But the story behind this is I got this when I was kind of gathering all those records from that old radio show station that I went to, and I didn't have that particular album by Bob Seger, and I just grabbed it. So there's no major story behind it, but it is beat. The cover is beat. I can even tell you, like right here, you can even see it is beat. All right. Number 10, show my favorite gatefold, inner gatefold. All right, well, I showed this on my my last couple of videos, my vinyl tags, sorry, running a blank there. And this is a band out of Greenland called Nanook. And Nanook is just the Greenlandic word for polar bear, or bear. And so you can see right there that that is the head and the paw of the polar bear, but the inner gatefold is just absolutely 100%, in my opinion, the most stunning, gorgeous inner gatefold you'll ever see, with all those icebergs and the close-up of the polar bear. I've always been fascinated by polar bears. My wife and I have artwork of polar bears in our house. I find them the most gorgeous, intriguing animals on the planet. But I would not want to get caught in the crossfires with a polar bear. They're pretty deadly. All right. Second to last question, although there is a bonus one that'll be coming up too. So number 11, show my favorite album cover. Why is it my favorite album cover? Well, back when I was in high school, Lives Throwing Copper came out. This is the one that has Selling the Drama. It's got I Alone, it's got Iris, it's got Lightning Crashes, it's got All Over You. There a lot of their big early hits, the band Live. And of course there's the band Inside. But when I was in high school, I tried to get this friend of mine who was really into art to try to draw this for me. And it never came to be. He never did. He said he was going to, but he never did. But I just think that even though it's the creepiest artwork in the world, I think it is really well done. And then on the back side of it is, you know, them kind of going to the dam at Otter Creek, which is the opening track and the sign for that. So I think it's a really neat cover. Is it my favorite cover? No, I don't really have a favorite cover, but that one there kind of has a story behind it. So that's why I showed that one. And then the last question before the bonus is, if you had to live in an album cover for the rest of your life, which one would it be and why? Well, I'm not much for tropical locations, but Hawaii's melodies, to me, this is a really just place to be. You know, the flames and just the environment. I'm not much for hot environments, but you know, if I could just live on a tiki beach in front of a tiki bar, you know, once my kids are gone and off and doing their own thing, me and my wife could just sit there and lounge and drink cocktails all day long in the palm trees. I think that would be pretty neat. So Hawaii's melodies, I don't bring that one out very often. One of my grandfather's inheritances. And then last but not least is the bonus. Create your own album cover for an album released by your channel. Well, this one here is kind of a cheat. I've shown this before, but the 2010 through 2012, I guess, maybe 2009 to 2012, I was in a local band, a cover band, and I had one of the band members actually created this artwork. And a few years ago, I actually had a guy make 3 copies of this on vinyl, this album. And that is my band, Nimbalori. But if I'm going to go with my channel, I mean, my channel shows all kinds of just unique stuff. Unique Canadian music, quirky music, and that kind of thing. So Nimbalori's Consensual Ripoff. I'm just going to go with that. And then on the back side, this is actually a design that I made. I was in Newfoundland and Labrador, and when I was waiting for the ferry in Labrador, I happened to look down, and there was a starfish squashed on the highway, which, you know, once again, kind of goes towards the unique, quirky theme of my channel. So I know it's a bit of a cheat, but there we go. I hope I done you proud there, Jack. And yeah, no, this was a really cool one. Got me a little bit more into looking at my my artwork and stuff like that, and coming up with some thoughts about what was cool in my collection. So there we go. I encourage you to try it out yourself if you haven't tried that one out. Also, I encourage you to try my recent vinyl tag that I came up with the other day, the Canadian Stereotypes Vinyl Tag. I'll leave a link down there below. And of course, if you haven't done David Atkinsons' 2026 vinyl tag, do so. I am going to leave links to Rob and Joe at Northern Revolutions and Racer Records, who I do a live stream with from the basement every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in North America. And of course, I will leave a link to Jack's original video, my original video, and David's original video down below. So there we go. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And take care, everyone, and hope you enjoyed. Bye now.